Michael Bennet is an American politician and was a lawyer in 2009. He was born on November 28, 1964 in New Delhi, India. His father worked for the United States Department, therefore Bennet had many opportunities for jobs. In 1985, Bennet earned a bachelor's degree in history from Wesleyan University. After working as an aide from 1988 to 1990 for Ohio Governor Richard Celeste, Bennet went to Yale Law School and served as an editor of the Yale Law Journal before graduating in 1993. Bennet then worked as a clerk for the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and later served as counsel to the United States Deputy Attorney General and as a special assistant to the United States Attorney for Connecticut. During this time, he married Susan Daggett and ended up having 3 children. In 1997, Bennet moved to Denver to become a director of Anschutz Investment Company, guiding troubled businesses as they reorganized under bankruptcy orders and restructured debt. Bennet's work came to the attention of the mayor of Denver, John Hickenlooper. 2 years later, he became superintendent of Denver Public Schools and helped turn around the failing system. Due to Bennett's accomplishments, he was appointed by Bill Ritter to the United States Senate.
Quickly, let me know what your plan is to fix the student debt.
It is not to forgive it, as Bernie has said. We need to lower the cost of college. That's the most important thing, and make it easier for people who have the debt to repay their debt. But forgiving it that's not a progressive policy. That's an effort, I think, by him to get votes. And I think I'm more for focusing on free preschool than I am for forgiving student loan debt, because I think it'll make more difference to kids living in poverty in this country.
So universal pre-K, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, climate change, Green New Deal?
I'd say I support the findings of the Green New Deal, but I have a different set of policies that I think will reach the middle of the country. Climate is an urgent and existential problem, and the next president needs to start addressing it on day 1 of their presidency.
The racial wealth
By
gap.
the way, it's an existential problem that we have a climate denier in the White House right now. He should be the last climate denier ever to be in this White House.
You touched briefly about the wealth gap. There's a significant problem with the racial wealth gap as well. Reparations, would that be part of your solution?
I've supported the bill to study reparations in the House because I think there are distinct issues relating particularly to African-American people in this country. There's a straight line that you can draw from slavery through Jim Crow, through the redlining and the banking and housing to mass incarceration today. And I think it's important, as somebody who's been a school superintendent, it's important that we face those facts. What is, I think, really critical for this country is that we have an education system that works for every kid in America, no matter what zip code they are born into, no matter whether their parents were wealthy or not wealthy. We need a system of tax policy in this country that supports parents. I have a proposal called the American Family Act that would dramatically increase the child tax credit in this country and reduce childhood poverty by 40%, and $2 a day poverty in America for kids in this country. That's what we need to be focused on instead of the daily distractions of somebody in the White House who cares only about himself and not about the American people. Enough is enough. We need to make a change.
So you were kind of late to join the race because you were diagnosed with prostate cancer earlier this year. And thankfully you've recovered, yes? Fully?
Fully.
All
Thank
good.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be something where we all have the same kind of thing?
I have that plan, but let me say first, I have not taken a subsidy on health care since we passed the Affordable Care Act. I'm on my wife's insurance back in Colorado, and that's who handled my operation.
Right.
Not my wife, but the insurance. And the most abiding thing that I came out of that experience with was the knowledge that I found out I had prostate cancer because of a screening that I was able to get because I had primary care, because I had insurance. I had no symptoms. I would be sitting here today, Whoopi, talking to you, not knowing that I had serious cancer and it wouldn't be fixed.
You might not be here.
Yeah.
Millions of Americans are dealing with that today. My plan is called Medicare X, which would give every single person in this audience the chance to choose whether you want to keep the private insurance you have, if you have it, or get on a public option. I think that's the fastest way to universal health care in this country.
Well, there you have it. This is somebody to listen to. Senator Michael Bennet.
There are 7,591 words in the Constitution of the United States. The word politics is not among them. That's because our nation's founders knew that politics and governing aren't the same thing. When campaigning never stops, governing never begins. I'm Michael Bennet, and for the past 10 years, I've been a senator from the great state of Colorado. You probably don't know me because I don't go on cable news every night. I didn't set out to be a politician. My last job was superintendent of the Denver Public Schools. And I didn't go to Washington to get attention. I went to pay attention to what would help the people who sent me there make their lives better. I've spent a lot of time on farms and ranches, town halls and living rooms, listening and learning. So you may not know me, but over the years I've learned a lot about what Americans struggle with. They work hard, but healthcare and prescription drugs keep costing more. For the last 40 years, 90% of Americans haven't received a decent pay raise. This is not sustainable for our families or our democracy. Since 2001, we've spent more than $10 trillion on tax cuts for the wealthy and wars in the Middle East. What would our country look like today if we'd spent that money investing in our own future? We could have saved Social Security forever, fixed the VA, raised the pay of every teacher by 50%. We could have led the world in solving climate change. We could have fixed our crumbling bridges and dams, but we did none of it. So we need to start now by investing in things Americans need the most. We need to fix healthcare and make good on what Obamacare promised. Affordable, high-quality health insurance with a public option that'll guarantee competition in every county in America and lower drug prices. And that's not Medicare for all, because I don't think 180 million Americans want to give up the insurance they already have through their work or their union. Let's enact my plan to give families a tax cut they can use to support their children. It would cut child poverty by 40%. We need to invest in education, from preschool through college, and job training as well. But I'm not going to pretend free college is the answer. I'm not going to say there's a simple solution to a problem if I don't believe there is one. In politics, they try to label you. Okay, call me an idealist, a pragmatic idealist. You can't fix a broken Washington if you don't level with the American people. It's time for a new era of progress, to reform our political system. We need to reverse Citizens United and pass my proposals to end partisan gerrymandering and place a lifetime ban on members of Congress from ever becoming lobbyists. We're at a crossroads. We either build a future we want, or one we don't want will be thrust upon us. That's what our founders faced 243 years ago. And I think it's time for us to think of ourselves as founders. Frederick Douglass was a founder. Abraham Lincoln, the suffragette. Our parents and grandparents who stood up to tyranny in World War II. My mom and her parents who survived that tyranny and rebuilt their shattered lives in the only country they could, the United States of America. It's our job now to create a future that works for all Americans, because it's not enough just to win the next election. We need to win the next century. So join me if you want to get to work. It's time to build the future.